Hey, Noob D&D Dad here. Hey, I want to pick up in session number 8 of my Army veteran group. So they're on their way back with a massive treasure haul to Phandalin so that they can sell everything, and they've got a giant golden bell that they took down from the Shrine of Savras. And they never talked about hiding it at all. They just threw it on the horse. So I'm like, man, you guys are going to get some highway robbers. So for the highway robbers, I decide to have a giant tree dragged across the trail. So they're going down the Tribor Trail back to Phandalin, and I have a giant tree dragged across the trail with a bunch of bushes on either side of it. So clearly like a road obstruction, right? And then I have them. So they're all just standing there looking at it, like, what do we do? Can we go around it? What do we do? And I'm sure they're all having IED flashbacks. Sorry, guys, when you eventually watch this. But then I have them hear a voice from behind them that's just like, where are you going with all that treasure? And they turn around to find a dude in tight red leather pants with a red leather jacket with long flowing hair. Just totally looks like an 80s rock star. Like behind a ballista, pointing it at them, being like, where do you think you're going with all that? And I was very proud of the design. Anyway, they start like having like arguing with him, being like, you put it down, no, you put it down, like, give me your money and stuff. And it just escalates until finally it starts getting hostile. People start drawing their weapons. Of course, our rogue hides. That's what he does. He hides. And so there's only 3 of the party left that the crossbow guy or the ballista guy can see. By the way, here's the stat blocks I'm using. For any newcomers, we're in Dragon of Icespire Peak. This is my Army veteran group that I'm DMing for. I'm also DMing for my son and my friend and a cousin. So DMing 2 different groups out of the same book. The stat block for these 80s red leather rockers is this veteran stat block from the back of the Dragon of Icespire Peak. So this is what I'm using. The stats for the ballista are as follows. They are basically the axe-home ballistas that can be rolled around, +6 to attack, and they do 3d10 piercing. So the reason I mentioned that only 3 are visible is because when I have the enemy attack, if it truly is random who they would choose, I just roll. I roll like a d6 and assign 2 numbers to each character that's visible. And so I rolled the sorcerer goblin, and he gets shot by the ballista, and it brings him down to like 1 hit point or 0 or something, and it impales him to the ground. So he's just like laying there impaled to the ground, and the battle ensues. So it turns out that the rogue had been sneaking around the side and finds 3 other of these dudes also in like red leather pants, red leather jackets, long like 80s rocker hair. Anyway, battle ensues. Both sides are getting bloodied pretty good, taking some damage. Carl behind the ballista eventually gets killed. Carl's the gang leader. So the rest of the gang kind of loses heart once their gang leader is killed, and basically our group is like, we're going to let you go, but you're going to leave all your weapons, you're going to leave your ballista and everything. So this robbery went very poorly. So a bunch of bloodied robbers leave. The party now has a ballista. So they continue on their journey to Phandalin to sell all their stuff. So there really wasn't this encounter I just made up on the way back. And so I made it so that they all had the weapons of the veteran. So they had the heavy crossbows, and I had one of the heavy crossbows be silvered with 5 silvered bolts. I also had them find 3 gold nuggets and a white pearl worth 100 gold pieces. This was to tease the sorcerer a little bit because he keeps asking me for a pearl of power. Also, anytime that I have a ballista show up, which I'm trying to do as often as possible because I want to see what people will do with them, I have it include 5 ballista bolts with it. All right, so this group hauled all this stuff because they took horses from Big Al. They also bought horses, and so they have a lot of like pack animals, and they were getting every little bit of treasure that they could find. So they took the following to sell at multiple stores in Phandalin. I am fully aware that as a noob DM, I am going to be criticized for allowing all of this, but here we go. Okay, they sold the following. They sold crossbows. They sold 5 crossbows, 19 great axes, 10 javelins, 5 long swords, 6 short swords, 1 silvered short sword, 1, I can't even read that, it was worth 40. I don't know what it says. 5 splint armors, 1 studded armor, 1 rapier, 1 short bow, for a total of 1,111 gold pieces and 50 silver pieces. So I did the thing where you're supposed to only do half value, so I know about that. And definitely the stores in the town are no longer going to have an appetite for great axes because they they bought 19 at 15 gold each. So we don't need any more of those in this town. But we can arm the whole friggin' village. And then so that was at the Lion Shield Coster, which my friend in my son's campaign calls it the Lion Shield Costco. So in the miners' exchange, they sold 3 gold pieces. They got 3 gold pieces for the chunks of gold. They sold the 100 gold piece pearl, and then they had the bell. And the book says that the bell of melted gold is worth 2,500 gold. And so I had them take it to the lady at the miners' exchange. She said that she would melt it down and coin it because she has her own stamp for 50 gold. So they'll get 24.50 back, and it will take a week to do it. Now, this plot really hasn't come up to the players, but I have a subplot where the lady at the miners' exchange is trying to, well, it's in the book, where she's trying to kind of gain influence in the area, and part of that is by having her own coin stamp. So when the players finally go back to get all their gold, and it has her special stamp, so it's still spendable across all of the Sword Coast, but she can kind of see where the money's going, and she can also, I'm going to have her ask them to report back to her if they get any interesting reactions when they spend her coins, right? So it's just all part of her machinations, and she's going to maybe pay them to be her informant. So I'm excited to have a little subplot there in the town. Here the Phandalin Miners Exchange. So Halia Thornton. She's an agent of a shadowy organization that seeks to exert secret control. So yeah, I'm definitely going to have her have a secret machination. So I'm excited that they went in there and that they are able to kind of have a business dealing with her so that I can introduce that plot. Also, I want to introduce more, I love all the violence, a lot. But I want to introduce more non-violent plots that are more like intrigue-ish, more like mystery story stuff in with the violence. So you can have an ongoing mystery plot while you're also killing tons of stuff, because who doesn't want to just kill tons of stuff in this game? So the players go back to Phandalin, sell a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm not gonna lie, I love the shopping aspect. I love seeing what they like when they try and gear up. And then they go to the job board. So this was a longer session. Most of our sessions are from 8:15 to 9:30 in the morning. So that's another reason I think that they go quicker, is because they're we want to get the most out of our session, right? We don't just want to meander around. Whereas my son's group goes a lot slower and methodically, where they want to check everything because they have more time. So I wanted to say that they grabbed 2 quests off the job board. They grabbed the Mountains Toe Gold Mine and the Loggers Camp, and because they were both up north. And I thought that was really cool, and I haven't seen anyone do that yet. I mean, I'm still very new. But if you look here, you have the Loggers Camp and the Mountains Toe Gold Mine. Well, I mean, that one's not too far away. They could have gone there and come back, but they wanted to go up here and then figure out where they're going to go. So the reason I brought up that it was a longer session was because they got the job at the job board and they immediately wanted to start it. And I was like, oh man, usually they get the job and then we kind of end. And so then I can kind of prep that session. Now, fortunately, I've been watching Bob World Builders videos on the Dragon of Icespire Peak, so it wasn't too rough. But they're like, yeah, let's get going. And I'm like, okay. So again, kind of testing the quality of this thing, I guess also in my improvisational abilities. I just turned to the Mountains Toe Gold Mine and I'm like, all right, what do we got here? So they arrive and they go in there and they start talking, excuse me, with the were-rats. And I was like, wow, they're trying to be really diplomatic here. I was very surprised. Normally they're just smash and grab, but they were just like, hey, what can we do to get you to leave this gold mine here so that these people can take over? And they start having conversation with them. So I'm going to go into more of that next time because it's going to be super relevant. But I was just really surprised. Also, I was a little nervous where they're like, yeah, let's go. And so I was like, oh, so I'm like flipping to the page, like, I don't know what is going to happen. So I started an adventure having not read it, just using the prompts in the book, and it worked fine. I don't actually think they noticed. One thing I'm very proud of, though, other than my shirt, is the job board had had 3 quests on it. It had mountains, tow, gold mine, the loggers camp, and then in a different handwriting on a smaller piece of paper sideways, it said kill the dragon, lols. So one of my friends in the group said, oh, okay, so we know definitively that you exist in this world, talking to me. So I was kind of flattered that they thought that was funny. But I just imagined the 2 job postings by Harbin Wester, and then just someone random in the town slaps a piece of paper on there that's crooked and in a different handwriting. It's like, kill the dragon, lols. Anyway, they took the whole job board, which is pretty cool. But the absolute highlights of this Army Veterans Group session number 8 was the sorcerer getting absolutely annihilated by a ballista bolt. So his buddies had to go help him out of there. And then them just selling a ton of stuff at the town. And I guess starting a quest without having read it. So yeah, this has been session number 8 from the Army Veterans Group, the second group that I'm DMing for, and loving it. Also, I have just hit my 30th session of being a DM, so I'll have a video on lessons learned there. So that's 15 for my son's group and 15 for the Army Veterans Group. So anyway, more to follow. Thank you so much. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the crazy sales, the ballista battle, the fact that they now are towing a ballista around everywhere they go, as well as starting a campaign without having read the module for that particular part. Anyway, love your feedback. We'll see you on the next one.